Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about some intimidating sci-fi and fantasy books that I have on my TBR. These are books that for some reason I keep looking at them and I keep telling myself that eventually I'm going to start them and I just never do. And I think it's just because I'm scared. I'm scared to start some of these books because some of them are so freaking big, and then some of them I just feel like I'm probably not going to understand what's going on. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. So the first book that has been sitting on my shelf collecting dust forever is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is about a queen that needs to have a daughter in order to protect her realm from destruction. I believe there are dragons in here as well. And I think there is another book in the series that is also just as big. This is a chunky book. I think it's almost 800 pages. I guess if you take out the glossary in the back, this is 804 pages. Have I read big books before? Yes. But have I been just as intimidated to do so? Yes. For some reason, when it comes to like really big, chunky books like this, especially when it's fantasy, it just scares me a little bit because it already takes me a while to read fantasy books anyways, just because I like to take everything in and they're just not as digestible, I think, as like a thriller. This one I have just been putting off because of how big it is. The next two series I want to talk about are series where I do not know what these books are about. The first one we have is Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. This is the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I'm not even sure I pronounced that correctly. I feel like I've seen people pronounce that different ways. I don't know. But I have seen so many reviews. I even have a friend that actually bought this book for me as a gift. And even when they talk about it, I have no clue what this book or this series is even about. I have attempted to read it. It does have kind of a long prologue, and I think I got through like half of it before I was just like, you know what? I'm not in the mood. I don't have the time to focus on this, and I put it down and I have not picked it back up. I plan to. My friend also sent me like this really long Google Doc about information for the book in the series, and he was like, if you get lost, just refer back to the doc. And I'm just like, what? I have to do all that to read this book? So I am very intimidated to start this series, and I'm just curious to know if any of you guys out there, like, what do you think? Is it a series that you think that I would like? Or should I just keep holding off? Like, what should I do when it comes to this series? Another series here that I have been putting off, and these books are also really big. I have the first three books in the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. And these, I'm also not really sure what they are about. And I have listened to a lot of people talk about them. I know that they span a long time. There's a lot of characters. There's like some battles going on, but I really honestly do not know what actually the plot is of these books, and maybe there isn't a plot. But I have been really interested in this series particularly because so many people have said so many good things. So many people have really raved about the things that they have read from this author. I do have a short story collection, The Paper Menagerie, that I probably will read first before I try to dive into the series, just so that I can get a feel for their writing style. But I also heard that this first book is pretty chunky. It's over 500 it's over 600 pages, and they said it kind of reads like a prologue, and then books 2 through 4 is when you really get into the story. And I'm like, what? So I'm not sure. I really am excited to read these, just not sure when I will actually start these. Another series that I'm just really intimidated because it has a lot going on, that is The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. This is just two of the many sub-series in this whole series. So I have this first trilogy, and from what I hear, it is just following this character. I think his name is Fitz. He's the bastard son of the king, and you kind of like follow him throughout these 3 books. The reason why I hesitate to even start this one, especially this series, or this trilogy in this entire series, is because people said these read really slow. You are literally just following Fitz, and like you are in the mind of Fitz, and I'm not sure how that is gonna work for me. But people have said, like, if you try and read this first book, Royal Assassins, and you don't feel like you are getting into it, then you should jump to the second trilogy in this entire series, which I have here. And I think the first book is Ship of Magic. But look how big these are. These are huge. And people have said if the first trilogy isn't working, try this trilogy. But then there's also like another trilogy. There's like a quartet somewhere in there. And then there's like another trilogy. And I feel like if you want to read the entire series, then even though you don't like the first trilogy, you would have to read that at some point in order for everything to make sense. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna start with this. Probably with the first trilogy, because in my mind that just makes sense. So I don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna start this. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know. I also got this little novella. I have no idea where this fits in anything. I don't know if I read it before I read everything else. I don't know which trilogy or quartet it fits in between, but I got it. I don't know, maybe I should just read this one and then jump in. I don't know what to do. So if somebody can direct me into where I should start with the series, please let me know. Another one that I have here is The 3 Body Problem. I have all 3 books in this series. This is also another one that I've had on my shelf for the longest time. I've had it for so long, they already have a show out in regards to this. And this is the Sci-Fi series that I was talking about. And I'm really nervous about this one because people who have read the first book have said that it is hard to get into. This is a translated work, so I'm not sure if that might be the problem with this series. All I really know about it, and none of these books have like a blurb, at least this first one doesn't, which is weird. All I know is that it just follows people, space, and possibly aliens. I don't know. I'm just not sure how like I am going to feel about this. And I have a problem where if I'm not understanding something within the first few pages, I have a tendency to just put it down, and I don't want to do that. I want to try to push my way through this. So if you have read it and enjoyed it, please, 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 please let me know. Then the last book that I am intimidated to read, we have The Ruin of Kings. I don't think that is the name of this series, but it is by Jen Lyons. I actually repurchased this book because I bought it maybe when the series was first being released, and then I hadn't read it for a while, so I was like, I'm probably never gonna pick this up, so let me go ahead and get rid of it. That's what I did. But then for some reason, all of a sudden, I started seeing a lot more people talking about it, and the way that people were talking about it, it made me excited. So I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have gotten rid of it. So then I got it again, and now I'm scared to read it again. All I know is we're following this character that's in prison, I think, for like treason, maybe. And then like, I think he's like telling his story, but this book has footnotes. We know over here that I am not a fan of footnotes. I don't know why authors do that, but apparently these footnotes are important and you have to read them. And then there's like a lot of like body shifting and people jumping out of bodies and you don't know which character is which. It sounds confusing, but for some reason, when people talk about it, it just sounds like something that I might like. I'm just scared to start it. So eventually I will, because again, I've had this on my shelf for a long time and I just keep looking at it. It keeps looking at me. One of these days I will get to it. So those are all the series that I am honestly intimidated to read. I have put them on TBRs at some point and have just never picked them up. They have just been sitting on my shelves collecting dust. So if you have read any of these series, please let me know where I should start, or if any of these series you think I should avoid, please let me know that as well. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.